Hello, and welcome to Life Stories with me, Angela Dixon-Watson. My guest is my friend, Dr. Bertram Melbourne, a fellow Montagonian who is a graduate of Harrison Memorial High School. I had to put in a plug for Harrison.
Okay.
He's an educator, a man with many distinguished accolades, and recently he was given the Order of Distinction from the Governor General of Jamaica, who publicly shares that Dr. Bertram Melbourne was one of his professors at Andrews University. And on a personal note, I had the opportunity to glimpse into his compassionate heart when he unhesitatingly rallied around my children, Dino and Rakilan, when they experienced a traumatic, life-changing event a few years ago. Dr. Melbourne, welcome to Live Radio. You are the pioneer of an extremely successful mentoring ministry for young men, which is named College Educate Our Sons, acronym CEOS.
Well, there's a little update on that. I will
Go ahead.
collaborate to educate our sons.
Okay. It's okay. Thank you. And please share your mission, vision, core values, and goals of CEOS, including the website.
Thank you so much, Angie, my friend, fellow Montagonian, fellow Harrisonian, fellow NCU1.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, we appreciate this opportunity that we have can share about this organization. I'll share a little about the name, the mission, the vision. Then I'll share a little about the history. And you can ask questions as we go along.
Okay.
Okay, the name is began, as you rightly said, as College Educator Sons. But then somewhere along the line, it was brought to our attention that perhaps not all young men can head to college or want to go to college. And those who might not be heading towards college might feel as though they are excluded. So how could you come up with a name that would make these folks feel included? And I thought that that was a very good observation. So I went to the team and we began to look. I also observed, once I began to look at that perhaps college educator son did not include mothers, did not include fathers. So if we found a term that would be inclusive, that everybody could feel that they're a part of the organization, it might work. And so we came up with Collaborate, which is very inclusive. So it's Collaborate to Educate Our Sons. It is an interfaith, international organization serving nonprofit organizations. So we are a nonprofit and we serve nonprofits and we try to do all we can for mentoring of boys and young men. Our mission is helping youth achieve their full potential. Helping youth achieve their full potential. Our vision is reaching balance to strengthen the global community. Reaching balance to strengthen the global community. What do we mean by that? The idea is, you see, that in 1949, 70% of the college and university population in the United States of America consisted of men. Today, there are some colleges and universities that are 75% female and 25% male. Some are about 60-40. The idea is that there are so many more girls in college than boys. Now, Is that a problem? Is it that we want to see less girls in college? Absolutely not. The idea is what we need is parity. We need more young men. There are spaces in the colleges and universities. So we need more young men to take their places. Why is this so important that we are paying attention to it? There are many reasons. Young men are going into organizations, groups, gangs, where their potential for good are not being developed. So if we can rescue them, if we can bring them back to where they are able to make a contribution to society, then that would be good and worthwhile. But there's another reason. Young women do not want to go to colleges and universities where they are not young men. And so when you have that great disparity, there is a problem. It is also the case, and that there are young men who have gone to date young ladies. And when they see the home where the young lady lives and realizes that they own that home, they feel inferior. Some of them disappear and never return. Or they see the car that the young lady is driving, they disappear and never return. So if we can have parity so that young men are educated, young women are educated, then we are doing business. So that's why we're saying reaching balance to strengthen the global community.
The question here, how do you rescue young men though, as you mentioned?
Okay, we can do that in many ways. What we're trying to do is work with teachers so that teachers know how to teach boys and young men so that they can retain them in the educational system. We're also working with parents. So many parents wonder, why are our girls different from our boys? Why can't they learn the same way? Then we're able to say to them, look, at age 4, neither boy or girl is ready for education, but we want to get them into preschool. Now, girls will conform and will work with it. Boys are not that way. They won't conform, and they are not ready. And what the teachers will do is they will put them at the back of the room and give them games. And that will reinforce in their thinking that they are no good, they cannot do academics, it's not for them. So if we can teach parents when that boys and girls are not ready at the same time, and so they should be open to find readiness, and train them how to really deal with their boys, then we have a stronger group of young men entering the educational system. And if teachers teach them the way they ought to teach them, let me give you an example. There was a young man in one of the states here in the US who, as a first grader, was always the first to finish his work. He would finish, sit at his desk. He would not disrupt the class. He would not disrupt anybody else. When the teacher graded his work, he always got everything correct. But the teacher had a problem with him and got him expelled from school. The problem was with the teacher, because when he was finished, what the teacher should have done is give him more work or get him to help some of the students in the class who couldn't do the work. But the teacher didn't know how to deal with a brilliant child, and so got him expelled from school. And advocacy had to be started on his behalf. So if we can get teachers to recognize that, boys will walk around the classroom, or they'll walk around and we think they're antsy. And we think that their attention, they have the attention deficit disorder. So we take them to the doctor and they're put on medication. When in fact, that is their learning style. And so if we get teachers to recognize their learning style, then we'll be able to help rescue them. One final point on that. Boys are now saying the warm, fuzzy feeling that they used to get from home and from church, they are getting from gangs. And that's what's attracting them to gangs, and the power of getting a gun. So if we can restore that warm, fuzzy feeling at home and in organizations, mentoring organizations, then we may be able to prevent them from going into gang. We would rescue them.
The black for the black kid, male in school, I think people tend to label them as what you mentioned, slow, or something is always wrong with them. So as a result, the teachers don't really know when they are brilliant how to handle them.
That is correct. I spoke with an educator who had a son in the public school system, and they were sure the boy had a problem and wanted to put him on medication, and the father refused, noting that nothing was wrong with his son. And so he got his son through homeschooling and through a private institution to continue his education. When I heard the story, he already had a master's degree. By now, I'm sure he has a PhD. And the teachers had told him that nothing would become of the child.
Awesome. And also, Doc, here's it. In acknowledgement of your perseverance, hard work, and positive attitude, coupled with your trust in our Heavenly Father, it's allowing the universe to benefit from CEOS. And what message do you have for young men pondering how to maneuver life's challenges?
Okay. Let me say this. One, our core values are character, faith, service, and trust. So we help organizations to help them, develop good character, exercise faith, knowing that God will be able to help them and they can trust. We offer scholarships for boys and young men. We are going to be posting our essay contest that will be open from mid-July to mid-August, when young men from around the world can do an essay, and we will award the top 4 essays with scholarships to high school, college, or university. And so, yes, we want to support their education. Yes, we want to offer some funding that will be able to help them to maneuver and be successful in college. We have some young men who have received the scholarship and who are grateful for what they have received. So they have returned and they are now working with the organization. One is the treasurer of the organization, and another sits on the board of the organization, because they valued the help that they got, and they would like to help others behind them to succeed as well.
What are some of the diverse careers those who have been successful have entered into?
One young man did business and just graduated from the University of Maryland with a very distinguished master's in the field of science, of business, One young man did a combination of music and ministry. He worked with a TV station in the area for a while. He's now entering on an independent ministry. working with boys and young men in school and doing a singing career for himself. We had one young man who went to Moore House. We had several that went to Andrews University. I'll tell you this one. There is a young man who was attending a university in Kenya, and he wanted to finish his bachelor's degree, but did not have the money. It was taking him many, many years. I'll tell you how many in a second. Then somebody introduced him to CEOS. He got a scholarship from us for, I think it was 2 or 3 years, which gave him the funds that he needed to graduate after 17 years.
Wow.
It took him 17 years, and he would not have finished except for the scholarship that he got from CEOS. And he is now working on his master's degree.
Wow. How about funding for CEOs? How did it start? How did it start?
Okay, well, I'll give you the history of CEOS and then I'll look at the funding.
Okay.
When I've worked 10 years in administration at Howard University. And as I was completing my 10th year, by this time I was interim dean of the School of Divinity, and I was completing 3 years and 7, 8 months in that capacity. A lady from DC, Mrs. Myrtle Gallo, approached me and said, "What are you going to do next?" And I began to think about that. A few years before that, she had come to ask whether or not they could use the space of the School of Divinity for a workshop, a Making a Difference workshop designed for ministers. And I agreed. So they asked me to do worship or bring greetings. And when I was doing that, I noticed that they were really in tune with what I was saying. Afterwards, they asked me, did I know Landmark? Did I do anything in Landmark? No. Did you know about the Mastery Foundation? Did you do any work with the Mastery Foundation? I said no. And they marveled because they said what I had said in welcoming them was in line with what the organization was all about. And they're wondering how I could have been using their language without having done their course. So Mrs. Gallo approached me at this time and said, how would I like to go to Israel and Ireland and work with this organization in a leadership program? And I thought it was a good idea. So I spent 3 years studying with the group in Ireland, and after which I got an advanced diploma in leadership, in transformational leadership. But the very first day I sat in that course, they gave us a challenge. They defined transformational leadership as being able to leave behind something that would not have been there hadn't you passed that way. Basically, that was it. So what legacy would I be leaving behind? And I had begun to think about legacy coming to the end of my term in administration. And I thought about making a difference, and I decided that I would be a bridge builder, building bridges between boys and their parents, between generations, between churches, between, languages and peoples. When I went to my coach and said that, she said, "Oh, right, Bertram, well, you can do that." But when we thought of the Hunger Project and we began that, we didn't know where the Hunger Project was going. And look what it is today. And I recognized that what she was saying to me was that what I had proposed was good, but I could do better than that. And so as I thought about it, I recognized that we were having fewer young men in college. And that was true of the school at Howard where I was at the time and of Howard itself. So I decided that we would do something for boys and young men. And that's how we came up with the name at that point, College Educator Sons. We then came up with our mission, vision statement. We wrote our bylaws, got incorporated in the District of Columbia, and then we became a 501c3 organization by 2011. Each year, we have a banquet at which we give awards to individuals that are doing outstanding work for boys and young men. And we have awarded at least 30 individuals over these years for the work they are doing. We then began offering scholarships, and I think by this we have offered more than 50 scholarships to boys and young men worldwide. And so the banquet is fundraising, and then there are individuals who like what we're doing, who will send us a check from time to time and say, here is help in helping CEOS to accomplish this purpose.
Awesome, Doc. And according to Frederick Douglass, he says here, it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And that's exactly what you are doing.
And that's one of our mottos. I have that statement on one of on some of our letters that we send out.
You see it? Oh my Lord, the Lord is working. And Doug, many thanks for highlighting the vision, mission, goals, and core values of CEOS. And I'm reminded of the United Negro College Fund slogan. Doc, it's just occurred to me. Let's repeat the slogan together. What does it say? The mind, what? The mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Yeah, a mind is a terrible thing to waste.
But elaborate on that a little bit.
Yes. Yes. There are so many of young men, so many of our Black kids, so many young people who have potential, who do not develop it, who do not use it. There is an author who says there are many a lad treading the daily round of life, unaware of latent talent, if roused to action, would put them among the world's great leaders. All that is required is for one to give a tap on the shoulder and to give an encouragement. So that's what we do. We ask, whether through the churches, whether through the clubs, whatever means possible, we ask others, mothers, fathers, men, find a young person and tap them on the shoulder and say, you have potential. You can make it in life. Go for it. I remember when I was growing up, all I wanted to be was I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. But there were men in my church who saw in me what I did not see in myself. And they gave me a Sabbath each quarter to preach. That's how I began preaching, but with no idea of entering ministry. I went to college, did science because I'm going to be a physician. But I wanted to combine medicine and ministry together. So I did my theological training before going to med school. They asked me for 2 years in ministry before going to med school, and I was teaching. 10 years later, I saw I was in drawing ministry and not in med school. That's how the Lord got me in ministry. And I've had a career in ministry and teaching, two professions that I thought I could not do and would not do. But you'll never be happy in life until you're doing what God wants you to do. And so I've had a very fulfilled life and a very fulfilled career doing what God wants me to do. And there are many young men out there, many young ladies out there who need to be tapped, to be touched by someone that they will be able to make a contribution in life. So one of the things we ask is that parents and mentors will ensure that young men have 5 caring relations in their lives. Now, let me explain that. The same individual who told me that I needed to expand from college educator sons to something else also offered me the idea that boys and men who are in gangs and in deviant behaviors, if we will help them to develop or to have 3 caring relationships in their lives, they will change from where they were onto the straight and narrow that we want them to be on. Now, let me say that another way. What he said was, young men involved in gangs and crime have 0 to 1 caring relationships in their lives, 0 to 1, which means they have 0 to 1 person who will ask them, how are you doing? How is school going? What's your goal in life? And so nobody cares for them. But if you can help that same young person to have 4 caring relationships in their lives, they're going to do well. And so we decided that if the boys and young men needed 4 caring relationships, we would invite them to have 5. In Jamaican parlance, the 5th one would be brought up. So if one failed, they will still have the requisite 4 that they need. And so that's one of the things that we push. Parents, teachers, mentors, help your young men to have 5 persons in their lives who care for them, who will reach out to them. They don't have to give them money or gifts, but they can if they want to. But just 5 persons who will say, how are you doing? Do you have a problem you'd like to talk about?
Awesome.
How can I help you?
Mm.
How can I assist you? Just doing that will make a difference in the lives of boys and young men.
Thanks, Doc. Once again, thanks to you and your team for being valiant soldiers, spreading hope of a bright future to young men through your CEOS ministry.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about CEOS. If you are interested and you would like to get more information, visit our website, collaboratetoeducate.org. Collaboratetoeducate.org. And if you hear this and you would like to send a donation to CEOS, go to that website, or you can just type in collaboratetoeducate.org/invest and send your donation. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.